Hello everyone, welcome to the couch. I am Victor William, and joining me tonight is my boy Ramos, who is actually probably sitting on his own couch. It's pretty nasty out there right now. This is going to be an explicit show because my son is a Boy Scout, so he's not actually here with us tonight. Chris, what's going on, man?
What's up? Looking forward to a little explicitness going on.
some fucking... Well, I'm not going to start cursing for no reason, but I'm sure one or two are going to slip. I'm feeling nostalgic tonight. It could be the glass or two of wine that I had. I'm sure you've had a couple. I heard you were at the Austin Ale House. Is that it?
I was.
Cool.
I was. Fresh keg of Sam Adams, and, can't go wrong.
The rest was history, as they say. Yeah.
Yes.
Really good stuff. Well, I just want to start off by a little bit of entertainment news with this whole Warner Brothers announcement with the Suicide Squad. It's going to be a movie that's going to follow the Batman vs. Superman movie, which has a lot of hype about it, and with good reason. It's going to be a big comic book type thing where Batman is going to verse Superman and all that stuff, but I don't know. I just think it's going to be a little overhyped like the Avengers, and this. I just can't get over the new Batman, dude. I just can't. I know Christian Bale has been in the news lately. He was talking shit about George Clooney. He also stated shortly after the Chris Nolan trilogy ended that he wasn't going to do any more unless Nolan was involved and all this stuff, and 3 was enough. And now all of a sudden he's back in the news and he's talking shit about George Clooney and all kinds of stuff. You know, have you heard about that, Chris?
I haven't heard about the shit talking, but.
Shit talk.
But
he's got a temper.
I don't know what happened to him. There's something about the Dark Knight. Those characters, everybody who acted, a lot of people who acted in Dark Knight. It's like something happened. It's like one of those movies that screws everybody up. You know. Well,
it certainly screwed Heath Ledger up. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. But then
he's the most tragic figure of that movie, you know.
Oh, of course. You had Morgan Freeman who gets into the car accident.
Mm-hmm.
And Christian Bale has that domestic violence thing, and
against his mother, right?
I think against his mother and his wife.
His mom? Fuck you, bitch!
Can you imagine?
No, Chrissy, no! That's fucking crazy.
That's like Freud would have a field day, you know?
Oh, yeah. Because he secretly wanted to have sex with his mother.
But he's not been the same since that.
No.
He just seems more, angry. More angry.
Yeah.
You know? And just not the same, you know, since that movie. Which is like, it's one of those things, you know, it's like one of those movies where it's just like a lot of stuff happens.
Yeah. The Morgan Freeman thing. Not many people know about the Morgan Freeman thing. And then you didn't mention the blow up that he had with one of the hands that were working on during a scene of Terminator Salvation, where he went ballistic shortly before the plane was gently landed into the I think the Hudson. Do you remember that?
Yeah, no, I do remember that. Yeah.
He just went off on the guy. I'll go outside right now, man. I'm gonna beat you up.
Yeah, I mean, he's threatening to beat staff members up.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. I don't know what the
fuck is wrong with you?
I do believe certain movies tap into stuff, and when they tap into stuff, I don't know, it's just like people aren't the same afterwards.
It's true. Well, Jared Leto better watch out because he's playing the Joker in this Suicide Squad movie. Do
you trust Jared Leto to do a Joker?
It's funny because back in 2010, people were saying, "Oh, I don't know about Heath Ledger. Jack Nicholson was the man," you know. But then Heath Ledger kind of killed it before he killed himself. But then I'm thinking, if you had asked me that 2 years ago, I would have said, "What, Jared Leto? Are you kidding me?" But I have to say, his work in did you see Dallas Buyers Club?
Yeah, like your recommendation.
Yeah, I'm telling you, dude, Dallas Buyers Club. The guy was amazing. I mean, he kind of I don't really know a lot of his work outside of Requiem for a Dream. I know he's been doing a lot of music with his emo band.
You don't know Jordan Catalanato?
Well, what My So-Called Life?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just pulled that one out of my ass, dude. I was thinking while I'm talking, I'm thinking, what the hell was the name of that show on TV? Couldn't remember it. My So-Called Life. What channel was that on, by the way? Because I have a coworker that we were talking 90s, and she was like, "Oh yeah, My So-Called Life." Was that on MTV?
MTV.
Oh, okay, so it was on MTV. So MTV didn't just pick up the syndication; it was on MTV.
I'm not going to say 100%, but I'm pretty sure that it was an MTV series.
Because the Force is telling me during the conversation we had that it was MTV, and I remember saying I think it was a cable. It was definitely a cable network show. It wasn't something on primetime. But I have to say he showed me some things. I mean, his work in Requiem was awesome. I mean, I really didn't know too much about him when the movie came out. The Aronofsky film, right? Darren Aronofsky. He did Pi and Requiem, and he also did Black Swan. But his work in that movie convinces me that he can pull off a Joker, and it doesn't have to be a Heath Ledger type Joker. It could be his own incarnation.
Yeah.
You know?
Look, that's the thing about the Joker. I mean, the thing about the Joker is that, I mean, let's not forget Cesar Romero.
Oh, Cesar Romero, yeah.
It's the Joker is an archetype, and anybody can kind of squeeze into it and provide an interpretation. The Joker is a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what finalized the Joker and Heath Ledger as the Joker and made it final was death.
Yeah.
Death. And I think that gave people it was a great performance. There's no denying it, but it gave people this false impression that the character died there with him.
With him, right? It didn't.
Guy in a purple suit, and clown costume, like.
Yeah.
It's an idea, it's a concept that anybody could fit into. Any actor could do that.
It's true. And I read probably a couple of weeks ago, I don't know, I was on some website, and they were saying how I didn't realize how much freedom Christopher Nolan gave Heath Ledger in the development of the character. I mean, I'll try and find it and I'll link it to you because it's I think it was called 10 Things You Didn't Know about Heath Ledger and the Joker. And I mean, there was about 4 or 5 that I already knew off the bat, but I also read that he actually took a hotel room and was staying. I mean, he was compulsive, Heath Ledger. Very compulsive. And he actually stood in this hotel room for days, and practicing the character, his facial expressions, the laughter in the mirror. Christopher Nolan allowed him to do his own makeup for the Joker. So the makeup, he didn't do it all the time. He actually did the makeup initially for the character production, and the makeup people were able to just look at it and reproduce it, and there were some other thing, but I mean you're giving the actor a lot of freedom to create this character. So the Joker belonged to Heath Ledger as much as it did to the Dark Knight in that movie. But before we move forward, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, sure. And Cesar Romero's character was, I don't know if you remember the show too well, but I do. I still watch the show regularly.
Yeah, I can't. I try. I have to admit I try, but it's on IFC now. But I can't. It's so fucking campy.
He laughs. He has this goofy laugh.
It's a great laugh. I know. I mean, see, I hear it in my mind. I used to watch that show all the time as a kid. It's like, it's amazing. The guy is awesome. But I want you to tell the people who's listening, everybody out there, I want you to, do you remember when we were jogging and you were talking about the Joker and how each Joker fit the times?
Yeah.
I still use that to this day. I think it's genius. Please share.
Well, the 60s Batman, Cesar Romero. You have the hippie era, the free love era, and you've got this colorful character, and he's joking around, and he's playing pranks on people, and it's very 60s, it's very like 60s. Representative of like the drug era, really. The guy was like basically an LSD-addled kind of character.
Yeah, didn't he like drug Batman a couple of times? I remember that
right.
was lapel or whatever.
Like Batman had drugs back then. In the Batman movie from 1966, he blasts Penguin with bat gas.
Bat gas.
Bat gas.
Did you think that confused the Penguin?
Right, and Penguin wakes up and he's like, can I have a glass of water? I'm a bit parched.
Oh, yeah.
And then in the 80s, he had more of an action kind of, late 80s was more of an action kind of villain, and you needed like a mafioso kind of Joker. And
which was the big thing.
The Joker was a mafioso,
Yeah. Jack Napier, remember? The Tim Burton movies, yeah.
And then now you had, Heath Ledger was a terrorist. He was a terrorist,
Mm-hmm.
And what bigger archetype for this era, the 2000s, than to have that kind of character. So when he was telling the bridge and tunnel crowd, that they're screwed,
That's right. It doesn't matter if you're here, and now you're part of the game. Very random. No point. It was, I mean, we've had long discussions on The Dark Knight and how it really was subliminally a movie that you could pretty much base the entire 2000 to 2010 decade on. I mean, you really can, with who was in power at the time, the U.S. president.
Yeah, Batman represents something on his own, He represents something on his own, and his weapons and his ability to like take security, like secure the cameras
and spy on everybody using their cell signals.
Right. So like he had this technology, at his disposal to catch this terrorist, and that's So what do you think this Joker in Suicide Squad? What do you think the Joker of the teens is going to be like?
Dude, I was just going to ask you that question because I was thinking about it. You're not too far off from the Heath Ledger Joker. So Jared Leto has a lot of work cut out for him because he's going to have to take this character in some kind of direction. So he's pretty much, I think he's pretty screwed as it is because people are going to be expecting the Heath Ledger terrorist type psychopath Joker. I think what Leto should do, and I don't think he's going to get nearly as much freedom to develop the character as Heath Ledger did, but I think that he should just take it and do his own thing. Maybe a reboot of the 60s Joker. Maybe you could do something like a drug frenzied type of addict Joker. I don't know. Take it where it hasn't been before.
An unstable persona.
Right, unstable, but not like blowing shit up kind of unstable.
Right.
Yeah.
Like as self-destructive as he is destructive to others.
Right. He, I really don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I feel bad for him because it's going to be a test. Because everybody's going to be looking at it like, oh man, I don't want to see Will Smith as Deadshot. I don't want to see Tom Hardy as whoever he's playing. Tom Hardy's Bane is gonna be in this movie as a different villain. So I think all eyes are going to be on Jared Leto, and he's going to have his work cut out for him. But I think that if he pulls out a good performance, especially if it's an un-Ledger type performance, I don't think people should berate him for it. I think they should applaud him for it.
Yeah, sure. What about the other villains? What do you think about the other villains that are going to be a part of it?
Well, to be honest, I'm a little worried about Will Smith. I'm not a big DC guy, so I really don't know who the hell Deadshot is. I don't know who Rick Flag is. I know who Harley Quinn is. So this Margot Robbie is going to have to be at least easy on the eyes.
I'm sure she will be.
And then there's, I don't know who Jay Courtney is. I guess they couldn't afford anybody else with this huge... But, yeah, I don't know too much about Deadshot or Rick Flag, to be honest with you. I think people are going to be looking at the Joker character, and... I just hope that they judge his performance on his performance and not on Heath Ledger's performance, because people were doing that to... And who knows? If you think about it, you could even make the argument that the Joker character was doomed. Heath Ledger's character was doomed even before it came out. I remember a lot of articles about how, Jack Nicholson was the Joker, and people don't like change.
No.
Unless it happens and it's good, and people are like, whoa, so someone else can be the Joker,
who can ever replace Brett Favre?
Yeah, Eli Manning. Yeah, it's true. Who can replace Messi? My father goes through that today. He still thinks Maradona is God's gift to football, and yes, he was, and yes, he is. But you have to recognize that there are other players out there who can do things better. So I think that's pretty much all we can say about the Jared Leto thing.
Why? Why?
You can be all the things you've always wanted to be. Beautiful, sexy, easy as 1, 2, 3.
Just let your soul glow. Just let it shine through. Just let your soul glow, baby. Feeling oh so silky smooth. Just let it shine through. Just let your soul glow. Just let your soul glow, baby. Feeling oh so silky smooth. Just let it shine through. Just let your soul glow.
Soul Glow.
Moving on to, I feel nostalgic, Chris. I want to talk about the 90s.
I was listening to some Stone Temple Pilots today in the car.
Stone Temple Pilots. It's funny when you discuss when you just say the word 90s, that band always comes up. It really does.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with Vanessa, and she's one of my coworkers, and she's a huge 90s fan, you know? And she's really happy that the 90s are coming back because she's like, now half my wardrobe is back in style. And I said, yeah, me too, you know? I was in 92 to 96, I was in Grover Cleveland High School, you know? And I was everybody else was listening to Biggie and hip hop. It was a big hip hop school. And to say the least, I mean, they took that whole persona and ran with it, dude. And I have to say, I went 4 years unscathed, you know. I think someone snatched my pack of cigarettes. That was the biggest thing that happened to me in Grover Cleveland. I just I was part of the woodwork in Grover Cleveland, man. I was like a ghost. I was a fucking ghost. I don't know how I made it through, you know. But I did, unscathed. You know, physically. I think the mental scars are still there and they'll be there forever. But
like high school,
yeah,
nobody goes there and survives.
It's bad.
With their psyche intact, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't had to be, you know, committed yet, but I'm sure that's in the future, and I could, yeah.
But I remember meeting you. I remember one day after school, and I think it was 1994. Pretty sure it was 94. And you brought up the new Stone Temple Pilots album is coming out today, you know, and
yeah.
And that was, you know, the one with Interstate and Vaseline and I was like, yeah, and I remember listening to that.
Big Empty.
I remember, look, I thought half the songs I listened to once or twice, and I never got into them.
Yeah.
That his voice was never like, I never liked that style of voice. I never liked that style of music.
Scott Weiland?
But, yeah, Scott Weiland. Yeah,
really?
Really, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But when they made their best songs, those songs were great.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And you're just like, wow, this is an awesome song, you know, and you forgot about all of that, you know?
People say the same thing about the Smashing Pumpkins, dude. And I mean, I can tell you that there are very, very few bands that I hear for the first time and I love. And I mean, there really are. I remember I heard Guns N' Roses. I didn't like them. I mean, I was a kid. I was really young when I first heard Guns N' Roses. I don't think I was even 10. I remember my uncle said, you can't listen to this CD. And of course, that's the CD I went for when I was like 10. I put it in there, and I didn't understand it. And all of a sudden, every now and then, there'll be a sprinkling of the word fuck or God knows what. Mr. Brownstone, he's a bad motherfucker, gonna kick him on down the line, you know. And I kind of fell in love with it. I hated Nirvana because they were just so different from what I was listening to, which at the time was mostly like 60s stuff. The Doors, the Beatles. I didn't like Stone Temple when I first heard them. I didn't like the Smashing Pumpkins I didn't like Bob Dylan when I first heard him. But these are the bands that I kind of fell over and just like something just clicked. It was almost like the gears in my brain kind of moved slower than everybody else, but eventually I catch up.
Yeah. But like Stone Temple is like Interstate Love Song, and a lot of those songs on that album are just like, I'm not a big fan of the first album, I'm not going to lie, but that second album, the 94 album, what is it called again? I forget. Purple is it called? I don't know. I forget what it's called.
I can't remember.
But it's like, I was listening to it, like, this is so good.
I know the first album is called Core.
Quintessential 90s.
12 Gracious Love Songs? Is that what that's called, I think? I think the second...
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's called 12 Gracious Love Songs.
And they have that goofy song at the end, 12 Gracious Love Songs.
Yeah. Maybe that's why I'm thinking it's 12 Gracious Love Songs. It could be... my tablet is like across the room. I don't want to get up. Fuck it. We'll just call it 12 Gracious. It's the second STP album, okay? But there's another song, Big Empty, that was on the Crow soundtrack, which really got me into the Stone Temple Pilots. Another band that was not so high on the radar came out toward the later half of the 90s, Creed. Now, dude, I've hated this band since they were thought up. I mean, somehow, some way, on a wavelength in my mind, I knew something was brewing, and I felt a bad taste in my mouth, you know.
Yes,
and then,
they were like they were the harbinger of doom.
Oh,
you know, like that's
God.
when you knew the '90s was gonna end. It was the '90s as we knew them. You knew that it was over when you heard Creed. You knew like this shit was
wide open. It's like, come on, dude, seriously.
Like, you knew the '90s had been bastardized and it was all over. Like at that point.
Yeah.
And then you had these rip-offs like Days of the New. Those guys were pretty terrible too.
Yeah.
And they were all like just bad Pearl Jam clones.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like,
Pearl Jam wannabes. They really were. And
what?
They were all Pearl Jam wannabes. They really were. And, you know, I loved the first few albums of Pearl Jam, you know, but then I kind of fell off the Pearl Jam bandwagon because of Radiohead. I mean, when radio hit with OK Computer, and, you know, I remember sitting at the Square, okay? I remember sitting at the Square probably in either, it had to be 97 or 98, one of those years, and you were saying that, have you ever heard Radiohead? And I said, no, I don't know. I think, is that the band that is that the band that sings Creep? You know? And you're like, yeah, but they're so much better than that. You should check out OK Computer. And I said, yeah, you know, I think I even had Pablo Honey, which is their first album. And it, you know, aside from Creep, I really stopped whispering. I don't know. I don't listen to the album at all. I still listen to the Bends, which is their sophomore album, but I don't give Creep, I don't give you know, Pablo Honey any listening. I really don't. Every now and then I'll hear Creep and I'm like, yeah, Radiohead. But
Blowout and Stop Whispering are great songs.
Blowout and Stop Whispering, yeah. I'm sure eventually I'll probably like just bunker down and maybe with a glass or two of wine and listen to the entire. I have yet to listen to that entire album cover to cover.
You should watch the Stop Whispering video.
Oh, I've seen it.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, is that you, Tom? Shit.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, he's trying to get that look back with the long hair.
Yeah.
But I went out there and I got it. And, I mean, I think I had heard, I think I heard Karma Police before I picked up the album. But when that album hit me, it was no looking back. I mean, I bought up everything I could. I must have, from Bleecker Bob Records, I remember waking up after a night of drinking, and you were playing the acoustic version of Street Spirit. And I'm like, oh my God. And I remember to this day that you just looked at me and you were like, he hits those notes like an opera singer, right? Like an opera singer. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, it's like a fucking religion, Radiohead. You know, I have tattoos of Radiohead on my body, you know? But when that, you know, so I wasn't a big, Pearl Jam really didn't go too far with me outside of 10 and Vitalogy. I think Vitalogy was the last album that I really followed with them.
I love Vitalogy. Yield is good. Yield is a good album.
Elderly Woman. But that album.
Yield was the one from like 1998. That was actually a good album. It was actually pretty good. That song with Do the Evolution.
Oh, great song.
Yeah.
Great video.
That album still had some that song Yesterdays, all those yesterdays. It was still good. That was the last one. You know, after that I don't know.
But this guy but I know we're straying from the subject. This guy Scott Stapp, he's not doing so well, Chris. He's there was the story broke. I saw it on TMC either early in the week or late last week that he's posting all these crazy and you know, society loves when in society, and I'm saying society in general, I'm talking about people all over the world because I think it's a human thing. We love to build people up only to knock them down. People are like fucking Legos, you know? Stars, I should say. You know, the famous. We love to build them up. We look so forward to seeing these people rise, and then we can't wait until they just fucking crumble and fall. So TMZ was reporting that, and it seemed to me like it was brand new. Like, I saw something like Scott Stapp loses his mind. So naturally I'm curious. I mean, I was never a big fan of the guy, but I don't want the guy to fucking, walk in front of a car saying some gibberish, you know. So my curiosity got the better of me, and he was posting a lot of videos onto social media about how the government is out to get him, and all kinds of stuff is happening to him, and how God is not in our lives anymore, but he's on our money, and then there's people worship money and all this stuff. And apparently, with other articles that I read, it's not something that's new. Apparently, the big Christian rock guru has drug binges, so even Scott Stapp is not immune to the rock star disease. And apparently, his latest binge is pretty bad because his wife of, I think, 9 or 10 years is filing for divorce because she's like, I can't take this shit anymore. And, I understand. So apparently, at this point, he's somewhere in some Holiday Inn telling people that the government is, Big Brother is out to get him. And the other members of Creed are trying to get an intervention together for him. But, it's not something that's new. The guy has been doing this for a while. Apparently he's got a big heart, but every now and then he'll go through these binges, and he'll disappear, drop off the face of the earth for like 5 or 6 days, and then resurface. But, I guess the one thing that I take away from this, which I sitting here talking to you, I just don't get it, and I think maybe it's because we were never at that level where we just had money to burn, but I just don't get it. I mean, especially Scott Stapp. The guy is the lead singer of a Christian fucking rock band, and he has this holier-than-thou persona, and he still gets addicted to all this shit. It's like, come on, man. Didn't you see those fucking Mr. T don't do drug commercials in the 80s? You're old enough.
It's part of the game. It's like it's the same thing that drives you is the same thing that destroys you.
Yeah.
And so, he played ball. He played
good ball. I mean, they made a lot of money, Chris. They sold a lot of albums. They were the hugest thing in the late 90s.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He played ball, and the result of his playing ball was that abomination of horrible music. And I would imagine that, I can't, imagine that anybody would, willingly play that kind of music, you know what I mean? And
who listens to Creed, right? The fucking guy. No wonder why he's not Holiday Inn.
Oh yeah,
it's ridiculous.
And eventually you're wake up and you're I can't do this anymore.
This is ridiculous. I mean, I find myself preaching to the hooker that I picked up. It's like, it's not working. I don't know. He
might be a spiritual guy. He might, mean well, but he played ball. He started this band called Creed and made really horrible music and was a direct, direct birth of the music industry, it's just straight out of the uterus of the music industry,
Uterus, the putrid uterus.
And this is what you get, what I mean?
Yeah.
Eventually,
when you mess with us, it's true.
Eventually, it came back to haunt them. And look, if I was like, 14 years removed from being the lead singer of Creed and listening to those albums, I would freak out and go on a drug binge.
I would too.
I wouldn't be able to deal with it,
Yeah. I mean, I guess, when you're at that level and you've done the things that you've done, and it's so blasphemy. I mean, I'm sure that the guy lived the rock star life, and at the same time, I mean, it wasn't. I don't think you consider Creed Christian rock, or maybe you did. I don't know. I mean, he sang songs like "We're All Under the Reign of One King," and
they were Christian rock.
They were a Christian rock band.
It was bad.
Yeah, but they certainly didn't live a pious lifestyle. I'm sure that the man has sowed his wild oats many times during the height of his career. So, but in the end, I don't wish ill on the guy. I didn't like his shit, and that's where it is. If the guy can get himself some help, then so be it. Just don't make any more music.
Yes. Exactly.
Don't make any more music.
Right. In the end, the human being himself, you hope that it turns out okay for him, and you hope that he could get it together and live a decent life.
Yeah.
And you don't wish anything horrible to happen to the individual.
We're romantics at heart, Chris.
Please, if he gets reformed, if he gets it all together, please don't make a reunion album.
No, please. And don't let this be some sick fucking advertisement for a reunion album that's going to be coming out mysteriously. Scott Stapp's back, and don't worry, we're going to show you how great he is in an album that's coming out next week. It's like, it's like the Jay-Z and Beyonce breakup, It's like, oh, they're breaking up. Wait, they have new albums coming out next week. It's ridiculous, But,
I had this joke back in the day that I'd call him Scott Strep because he affected the music industry with horrible shit.
They really were like a virus that went through the music industry. They killed off they just killed a lot of stuff. They really did.
They killed grunge. They killed grunge with their shit.
Nirvana didn't kill grunge, shit. It was them. It was them.
Like the last vestiges, like any hope there was of survival, Creed was there to make sure it didn't happen. But you're absolutely right. It's hilarious. Please don't make any more music.
I don't, if you want to pick up that guitar, if you play, I don't even know if the guy plays an instrument, or, work out those vocal cords, sing for the local choir. You can even sing your old tunes, but make sure it doesn't make it to, like, the social media and all that stuff, because nobody wants to see it anymore. I'm sorry.
Oh, that voice. Every time I used to hear those songs, that voice was just so bad.
Oh.
It was so bad.
It was horrible. And I mean, I will take Billy Corgan with a horrible fucking cold any day. Because at least his shit had some meaning to him. Granted, a lot of it was really dark love songs. Fuck it, I'll take that too. I mean, I just don't want to hear about being under a reign of one king. Look, I know that. I hear that on Sundays. I don't. I bet that motherfucker doesn't even go to church.
No, if you want to sing about that, at least make decent music. That's
right.
That's all we ask.
Come on. I applaud the effort to try and bring God back into popular music or, mainstream music, but, you're not the representative. It was bad. It was bad stuff. It was horrible.
It was. It's a disservice to God. To shitty
God
music.
didn't listen. God was a Radiohead fan. God was listening to Pearl Jam.
I'm sure God doesn't want, people being like, oh, it's Creed again. I'm sure he didn't want that.
Why does this guy keep singing about me? Pick a different fucking subject.
When you get hold of the Nintendo Entertainment System, when you master Rob the video robot, and meet the challenge of Gyromite, when you shoot the light-sensing zapper, when you play the system with so many arcade hits, you're playing with power. The Nintendo Entertainment System Deluxe Set. Batteries not included, Super Mario Brothers, and other games sold separately.
This is Daniel Johnston speaking from a mental hospital. They tell me I'm crazy here because I love the Mountain Dew so much. I can't get enough of the Mountain Dew. I was sinking deep in sin, far from Mountain Dew. I had problems out within, nothing that I could do. But the Mountain Dew came to me, and I drank it all up. Now I'm happy as can be, oh Mountain Dew. We drink Mountain Dew, we drink Mountain Dew. We have nothing better to do but drink Mountain Dew. We drink Mountain Dew, we drink Mountain Dew. No thing better to do than to drink Mountain Dew. Yahoo! Mountain Dew. It's the new sensation, the best, the greatest, the most fantastic, the most sensational soda pop in the cosmic universe. Mountain Dew.
But but thinking about the 90s lately, I don't know if maybe it's because I'm close to my birthday, you're close to your birthday, but I've been thinking about the 90s, and we had some good times, Chris. We had some good times. I was talking to Alex at work today, and I was telling him the story of the first edition story. The first edition story. Oh my God.
We shouldn't mention any names.
No, we will not mention any names. The names will be changed to protect the innocent, but they were not innocent. And John is a very common name. Nobody knows who John is, So, but I remember, and I want you to tell your side of the story, because a lot of crazy shit happened that night that I wasn't even aware of because of my state. But, back in the mid to late 90s, we all, our crew, we used to hang out on Bella Boulevard, and, we used to have so much fun. Oh my God. I remember just going to the ATM and taking out 20s and just having an unlimited amount of 20s. And I had my own place, and it was just a different time, I didn't have kids or a wife at the time. But anyway, so we get picked up. I think it was John that picked me up. And he's like, "Hey, Vic, look under the seat." So I look under the seat. I pull out a fucking fifth of whiskey, okay? Jim Beam, or whatever, bourbon, I don't know. But, so I'm like, oh my God. So I crack it open. He takes us, now he's driving, he takes a swig. I took a few swigs, he takes another swig. So we're going to Ridgewood to pick up Chris. And by the time Chris gets in the car, he's like, "Oh God, you guys got a bottle of Beam? Let me get that shit." So I pass it to him. He's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you guys? There's like a quarter of it left." Chris, we drank 3/4 of this bottle of fucking Jim Beam, okay? And John is driving, and I think I pretty much drank most of it, to be honest with you, because for some reason I felt like Superman. By the time I got to First Edition on Bell Boulevard, which, I don't know, what was that, like a 20-minute drive, 15-minute drive from where we were in Ridgewood, I was fucked up, dude. I was fucked up. So I remember, this is all in like bits and pieces, but I was told that I walk in, I knocked something off of a table, and I go to sit down, and that's where I sat, and I complained to everybody who would listen that I don't have a beer, right? And finally, somebody brought me a pint of beer, and I was told, because I don't remember much at this point, I was told, I looked up, smiled, and said thanks, and I proceeded to pass out at the table. And upon passing out, I think you guys were having a couple of good laughs about it, and all of a sudden, the next thing I remember is waking up in the ambulance, right? And I'm like, what the hell is this? I taste that plastic or rubber, and I'm like, what is that? And I wake up, and I'm in the ambulance. I'm like, what is going on here? And I hear John yelling in the back, he doesn't have insurance! And I'm like, yeah, I don't have insurance, I'm good. And I remember John arguing with one of the guys, saying, listen, he does this all the time, he's fine, he's awake, let's just put him in the car, and we'll be fine. And so I remember one of those go, oh, no, we got the call, we gotta take him in. So I'm getting confused, in my mind, saying, like, what do you mean you're gonna take me in? Where am I going? So they wound up taking me to Flushing. Was it Flushing Medical? Yeah, Flushing Medical, where I proceed to make a royal ass of myself. At the time, I was a smoker, so I think I did have a pack of cigarettes on me at the time. I don't know, but I was like falling off the gurney. At one point, they strapped me to the gurney until finally the nurse, I guess, took pity on me, and she's like, do you really want a cigarette? And I'm like, yeah, I just want a cigarette. I just want to get out of here and smoke a cigarette. So we went outside, and I smoked a cigarette with her, and she's like, what are you doing? I mean, I had no words. I'm like, well, whatever. I was just hanging out with the friends and everything. And all of a sudden I see Lauren and my dad walking over, and it was just a crazy night. But you had some stuff happen to you that night.
Yeah, well, I'll give you the abridged version since we're on record here.
Oh, yeah, don't incriminate yourself or other people.
Yeah, sure. So basically, I was there, and the way I remember it, you fell off the stool. You knew that something was wrong, right? And you were on the floor, and we went to take you to the bathroom to wake you up, and there was an ass clown there. And one of those guys
that was in training, right?
What?
Wasn't he like an EMT in training?
Yeah, so some guy, you wonder what, some guys, you just wonder, you know what I mean? Because he was like, oh my God, we gotta call EMT, we gotta call EMS. And we're trying to tell him, listen, this happens all the time, we're getting under control, we're gonna get him back home, he'll be fine, this happens a lot. But before we could tell him anymore, he called 911. Oh. And I remember getting very angry at him and kind of pushing him against the wall.
Oh my God!
How could you do that? You know what I mean?
What the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, because the truth is, to this day, I know you would have survived the night.
I did survive the night.
It's ridiculous.
I'm fucking living proof I survived the night. And yeah.
Anyway, so then. I was kind of drunk myself, and
we all were,
to say the least. And for some reason, when they put you in the ambulance, and I couldn't get in the ambulance, John and Chris went, and I couldn't fit in the ambulance. There's no space for me. They told me, just move, sir. The door's just closed, right? And for some reason, seeing you in the ambulance made me in my state of mind think that maybe you were dead.
Oh my God.
I was like, you died. Oh my God, you died. So I remember stumbling around Bell Boulevard in this stupor.
Yeah.
Mourning that you were dead, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I might have even told people you were dead.
So I'm like Paul McCartney now because of you.
And I remember just stumbling into a bar and just getting a consolation drink and just standing there oh my God, he's dead. I didn't know what to do, right?
Yeah, well, I really wish you made it into the ambulance beside Gonzalez and John, because I remember Gonzalez yelling, pump his stomach, and John is yelling, give him an enema, give him an... So they were just being dicks. But everybody that came to see me that night was like heavily intoxicated. They knew exactly who they were coming to see.
Right, yeah. And then I had this long adventure trying to get to Flushing, and the next morning, I don't know who I got to drive my car. I'm not going to say publicly who drove my car to Flushing because I was really drunk. I don't know who drove, alright?
Yeah.
But I know I had gotten somebody to come with me, so they probably drove, you know? Although I'm not sure. But
somehow you got there.
I was thinking too. Anyway, the next day, my passenger door was all messed up. I guess whoever tried to park the car by Flushing Hospital slammed into a hydrant and smashed up their car.
Oh my god.
And,
what a night.
And I remember stumbling into the hospital, and you were already gone, because it had taken me so long till I couldn't find my car. I didn't remember where it had parked. It was a miserable experience.
And did they say something to you?
Yeah, they said, you must be here to see that, you know, they knew. They knew who I was there to see.
You must be here for that guy.
Yeah,
he's gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god.
And the funny thing is,
oh, there's a funny thing?
Back like at 5 a.m. and we needed to do something at 7 a.m. So I finally get home and pass out, and then I see like Chris and John out the window at like 7 a.m. like tearing in at me. Just horrible.
For Vic's funeral.
But you know what? I remember that the EMS people told me that you were okay, and that made me feel good. Like I'm like, is he alive? Is he alive?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, he's alive. His mother or his father came and took him. I don't know.
Yeah, it was my dad and Lauren show up. I'm like, oh my god, where are you coming from? And apparently, I think I have no idea. Lauren somehow made it to the apartment, and someone there told her that something happened, and my dad was actually going to go and get him from the hospital. So my wife hitched a ride with Lauren hitched a ride with my dad, and it was crazy. I'm out there smoking a cigarette with a nurse, and she's telling me, you know, asking me what I'm doing with my life, and all of a sudden I turn around and there's my future wife and my dad coming to get me, you know? And my dad wasn't 100% sober either. So he drove. It was, but I mean, that's just one story of one of our many nights of debauchery that I remember.
Oh,
we had so many.
We could fill.
I mean, the Cooper Ale House alone. I mean, we had Cooper Ale House.
Which is Yerman's now. You know, Cooper's doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, no, it's Yerman's. Yeah, no, I heard that that they changed. I haven't been there since they were Cooper Ale.
Right, I think I was there once or twice for Yerman's. Towards the end of my party days.
Yeah, the party days.
A couple of times.
Oh my god, yeah. Hootie.
Yeah, there was a time, the first time I went out drinking when I first turned 21.
Yeah.
It was one of the first times. I think this is the second time I ever went out drinking. The first time was at Irish Cottage.
Okay.
And the second time was at Cooper's Ale House with you.
Yeah.
And that's when we decided to try every mixed drink we could think of.
Yes. The table next to us was full of empty glasses. And we were getting angry because somebody kept clearing the stuff off, but at one point, that whole table was full.
Yeah.
And we kept going.
Yeah, I remember getting annoyed. She's like, no, we're not going to get any credit for all this drinking because like, they cleared the table. We looked like we just got here.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
I remember we tried Jack and Cokes, rum and Cokes. We tried every Brandy Alexander's, any mixed drink we could think of. We were just getting around of it.
And we could... Yeah, because we had each other, man. What was gonna happen?
Yeah, we must have had like 20 rounds. It was ridiculous how much alcohol we had that day.
Yeah, and we survived. It was unbelievable. It really was. These were the days before Hootie, you know?
That's how we met Hootie.
Yeah. Hootie. I sometimes wonder how these people are, you know? It's like, wow, I wonder how the mangy-haired girl is, you know? I wonder how Hootie is.
Don't say that.
My God. I
do wonder myself.
Yeah, it's just natural, you know? You just want to know how these people are doing, you know?
It's probably sad. We would probably be really sad if we saw them now.
Or they might be really sad when they see us.
Yeah, it's possible. Although, I don't know. Like, they were spiraling down into something really like terrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just a lot of craziness with those people involved.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking like there was a friend. I'm not going to mention any names. There was a friend who had like serious cocaine issues.
Oh wow.
Like serious cocaine issues. Like it was pretty bad.
Wow. Yeah, and you know, I haven't been exposed to that that I know of very much. And the one time that I was exposed, it's pretty scary, you know? I mean, everybody has been around people that have done smoke or whatever. But, you know, when you start getting into, like, it's almost like walking in and seeing someone, you know, sticking a needle in their arm. It's like, what the hell is that? You know, you get spooked, you know? But at a bachelor party, I remember there was a guy who actually had anger issues. I don't know if the anger issues was caused by the cocaine or if the cocaine just kind of made the anger issues more angrier. I don't know. But point is, when you see it happening in front of you, it humbles you. You're like, oh my God, you totally feel like you're from a different world, you know?
Yeah, and it's something you don't want to get involved with, you know?
No, because there's a lot of craziness. I mean, who knows what could happen? This guy might not have paid his dealer. This guy might have the mob after him. Who the hell knows? You want to stay as far away from that heavy stuff as possible, you know? Even if you're not the one doing it.
They could get desperate and rob you.
Yeah, just like, yo, I'm going to tell you something. Yeah, bah! Punch you right in the back of the head, and you're like, oh! You know?
Anything could happen. You could step on a needle on the floor or something like that when you're
and
over
come down with
place.
HIV or something. Who the hell knows?
Yeah, or you know, anything could happen. Anything could happen when you want to get something and injured or in some way, you know.
Yeah,
it's not good.
It's not good. It's very, very humbling.
You draw the line. You know, you draw the line at like, you know. Draw the line. If you're going to be a drinker, be a trustworthy drinker, and that's the border. You know, if you're not a trustworthy drinker, then that's not good. If you're going to be around a guy who picks fights, you know, all the time and gets arrested, you don't want to be around somebody like that, even if it's just drinking.
Yeah, that's the biggest fear about hanging out with a drinker. You know, especially with Burke's Pub. I mean, Burke's Pub is a neighbor. Burke's Pub is a neighborhood Irish bar. I mean, like, to the core. I mean, I've actually been there and have seen shit between two Irish guys come to fists where they literally stepped outside, did their thing, pounded each other. They came back fucking arm in arm, almost, and ordered each other beers, you know? So I've seen that in Burke's Pub, but, you know, Burke's Pub, I don't know, I just can't, it's masculine. But at the same time, you know, I don't feel uncomfortable as much as I would in Burke's Pub, as much as I would if I was over someone's house and all of a sudden, paraphernalia came out or whatever that shit's called.
Yeah. Because we can handle drunken people at a dive bar.
Yeah.
Because we can understand it. A guy with a needle in his arm, it's just like alien.
It's very alien.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get knocked over in Burke's Pub because the guy needs a hit or a beer. You know what I mean? He's gonna pummel you if he thinks that you looked at him funny. But we all know how to look at drunks, so yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Burke's is like is not for the.
Burke's is still there, okay? Burke's is still there. There's a lot of places that close and reopen under different names. It's still Burke's, and they got a B, by the way.
And nobody cares, they got a B, and everybody who went there still goes. There was once I think this woman in her 70s who told me she wanted to work on a deal with me where I would live there live in her apartment across the street for like either $250 a month, or we could work out something else.
And she put her hand on your hand. Her bony, withered hand. We can work something out. Yeah, there's a couple of things that come up when I think of Burke's Pub. I think of how all of the patrons used to think that me and John were an item because it was me and John that went to Burke's like every weekend, and it was so bad that even the bartendress or whatever, I forget her name, one of them, there was an older blonde, and there was I think one called Catherine or Katie or something like that. But one of them was like, I said, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go home. She goes, we all know where you're going. But nobody messed with us. We were a regular. As funny as that was, at the age of 21, amongst people twice our age, we were considered regulars. I mean, we spent good money in Burke's. I remember hanging out there for a couple of hours. Meanwhile, some people would come in, have one or two drinks, and leave. Burke's was just a stop. Whereas we literally hung out the entire night, just hanging out in Burke's, shooting pool or whatever, But yeah, that was one. There was one story about a girl who claimed that she met Prince. I don't know. She was some whack job, and she tried to get me to go to her apartment, and I was just like, yeah, no, I don't think that's gonna happen. She was in her 40s. She was like a wannabe cougar, I guess you could call her. But yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. But yeah. But but Burke's, I remember just Burke's being the neighborhood dive that we all used to just go to and just hang. Yeah.
Burke's is the type of place where you can wind up in the hospital or someone's apartment, depending on how the night goes.
There you go. Well, alright. Well, you know what, Chris? I think we're going to just leave it here with Memory Lane. And so, once again, this is Victor William and my boy.
This is Chris.
Alright. Have a good night, everybody.